Welcome back to the KB Money Show. It's your boy KB and my awesome co-host, the scholar from Ivy League, my bro. What's good? Episode 4. Let's get it. How you feeling, man?
Man, I'm feeling awesome. I'm feeling blessed and happy to make it to episode 4, man. It's crazy to hear that. That we still in January. It's a long month, man.
Hey, hey, we rolling. We rolling. We said it don't stop. It don't stop. But I think what I want to open up with your week because I think last time we was talking y'all were getting ready to do something. Y'all were getting ready to go skiing. Hey, I ain't never had that experience. I know if I ever go, your boy gonna be on the baby mountain because I ain't what they call I forgot what they call that one. What is it? I forgot what they call that particular slope, but it's a name that they call it. But how was the experience and just your overall week, man?
Man, it was a definitely a new experience. I mean, growing up in Gulfport, Mississippi, we don't ever see snow. And it's funny saying that because we actually Gulfport just saw snow a couple of days ago, so that was crazy. Not just Gulfport, but I mean, did Houston get snow? I imagine a lot of
Yeah,
the
we got snow too. Yep.
whole South got snow. So, I'm in Boston. I'm starting to get used to it more, but I can just imagine what the scene was like down south. But man, for me to go skiing, first of all, to me, it's such a novel experience. But I'm seeing there's people that they do this weekly, people that are bringing in their own gear. And so that was just cool to see. And so for me, it was just, it's definitely, it's something that I would recommend more people try, especially if you like roller skating, things of that nature. It's kind of similar to me. And so, but it's a lot less hard to fall on the snow than it is the hardwood when you're roller skating, or ice skate. So it's almost like the same fun minus you still got to be careful, but man, I really enjoyed it. It was me, my wife, and her brother. We took him skiing with us as well, and it was a great experience. We went to, I'm not gonna plug them, but it was a great experience. It's really beginner friendly is a good way to put it. They had like a little trainer slope you could train on real quick. They was giving out lessons, and it was definitely, it ranged from absolute beginner to pro. And like you can see the pro slopes, it almost looked like a wall. I'm like, oh, just a wall of snow. You like, oh wow, they going up there. And so, they got the ski lifts and all that. And man, it was just an awesome experience. I think that more people should try new things like that. It was good to get out. It felt good to get out of my comfort zone. Because maybe a year ago I might have been like, nah, I don't think I ever go skiing. I don't
Yeah.
know, but you
Yeah.
gotta try new things. But man, the skiing was probably the more exciting part of the night though was getting home because it actually started snowing while we were there, and
Mm.
so it was cool. While we're skiing, oh, it's great. Okay, when we're leaving though, I'm spoiled. I'm used to the city of Boston salting the roads and coming out
Yeah.
with plow trucks and handling it. As soon as it falls, they got to handle. Now, where we were for the ski trip, it was a more rural area, and the drivers were more prepared. They had snow tires. I did not, and so it took us an hour to get there. It probably took us 3.5 to get back because I had to go about 5 miles an hour going, because think about it, we're at the top of the mountain and I gotta drive all the way back down before I get to the highway. And
Yeah.
one road we slid, but hey, I figured we managed, and that slid made me say, you know what, I'm gonna take my current speed, cut it in half, and get us on super safe. But man, it was just it's fun to look back at. It was a cool experience. But yeah, man, I recommend more people to do it.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, man. Man, you taking me back. You taking me back when I was in Northeast for a couple years. Hey, that snow ain't nothing to play with, boy. You'll slide.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so hearing you say took an hour to get there, 3.5 hours back, I already know. I remember one time, I remember I went to work one day
Mm.
and then we got hit with a storm.
Mm.
Man, it took like 5 hours to get back home.
Dang.
Talk about exhausted. Eesh.
Wow.
So nah, so yeah, nah. But you know, snow is always fun. I enjoyed. I really like the snowmobile. Have you ever did that?
No, I hadn't done that one yet. Wow.
So the snowmobile is where it's at. That's where it's. Have you ever done jet ski?
Yeah, I've done the jet ski before. I never thought of a snowmobile. That sounds fun.
It's kind of like that, but different because you're in the snow. But it's kind of the same vibe, if you will. Yeah, yeah. Any updates on the money side? Any major updates? This the money show,
Just
so
just steadily making progress towards that emergency fund goal. Another paycheck, another allocation.
okay. All right, cool, cool, cool. So for me, like you said, we had snow, which is not normal for Houston. And so that's what you know, the city shut down naturally. Luckily we kept our power because we were getting alerts saying that we could lose power, so that didn't happen.
Oh
So
wow.
we were just chilling. We were just chilling. The city was shut down for the most part. Schools closed, everything closed. Um, but what was a trip was I'm like I had just started my fitness plan, so you know, my fitness plan. I'm like, man, I'm trying to go to the gym. You
Right,
know what I'm saying? I'm like, man, what we doing?
right.
And so what I did was, hey, when life throw you curveballs, you gotta, you know, you just gotta make adjustments. And so Wednesdays are my off days, and so it everything snowed and shut down on Tuesday. So what I did was I just flipped. I just flipped my off day to Tuesday, and then I worked out on Wednesday. So I just flipped the days. Uh, Even though that they opened up things a little bit later in the day, like 9 to, so I just made it work. I just made it do what it do. But great progress. Your boy is extremely sore right now. But I feel good though. The last time I went on my cut and leaned out and got real lean, this was that feeling. And so like, you know, when you're doing something, you're like, oh yeah, this what that feel like. And so enjoying the process, the gains is coming.
There we go.
The gains is coming. But yeah, so great progress on that front. On the money tip, like you said, it's business as usual. No major updates there. Yeah, no major updates on that front, but still tracking in progress. Men's group is going well. Man, let me tell you something, man. You got to audit your circle, man.
Mm.
The five people, and I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why. Being in that group, it's encouraging, it's inspiring, but it's also challenging you to do more, be more, have more, all the things, right?
Wow.
And it ain't even call you out when you're not playing big enough, right? So, and so think about that. And the reason I said you got to audit your circle, I was on a call with somebody, and some way it came up, and they were asking me something, and then and somehow fitness came up and weight and all that. Well, in my group, a part of the my pro well, I do share my progress with them, but I'm not reporting into them. I actually have my nutritionist and my actual fitness coach that I report in week to week. Well, the reason I say you got to audit your circle is then think about who you talking to and what they're sharing with you is I was talking to somebody yesterday and they said, just make sure you don't pay too close attention to the scale," which
That's
was the counter opposite of what my fitness coach told me, who I've worked with in the past, who we've gotten results for. But and so what they were saying, I just happen to have the awareness. I'm like, why are they saying that? They don't want to step on the scale. And so they saying that to me. Like, I don't mind. It's not bothering me. I'm enjoying stepping on the scale because that's one of the metrics I got to track every day. Some people say, "Oh, uh, what do they say?" I forgot the term people use these days of over obsessive. with your weight and this and that. It's like, how are you going to track things? You need to be able to track. And we're
Right.
not tracking to stress out from a day-to-day perspective, but what you put your energy and your focus on, how do you know it's working? How do you know it's not working? It's really not about the water weight fluctuations. It's just about they're just trying to see the overall over the entire week were there any major trends, not like, oh, you gained 2 pounds one day and lost one. And they're not really looking at that. They're looking at over the totality, like what is the trend and is there, oh, I noticed a spike here. What happened that day? Or like just being able to talk about stuff like that is not to be like, oh, you gained 2 pounds. Like it's not that, but the fact that somebody said, oh, well, be careful. Don't be, make sure you don't be, stressing out about the scale and stepping on the scale every day. And I was thinking, why are you giving, you're not my coach. Why are you giving me that advice? And so I just found that so interesting and tying it back to money, it's the same thing. Think
Mm,
about getting advice from people that don't know what they're doing. Think thinking about getting advice from someone that's in massive, massive amounts of debt
mm.
and not good debt. Uh, you know, if you're using it for leverage to get real estate or whatever, or buy a business, whatever. It's just you just gotta be very careful on those things, and that's where my mind went when I was getting that advice that I didn't ask for. And I was like, oh, okay, okay. And so, yeah, nah, that was interesting.
Man, it's funny. It reminds me of I think that you're pretty good at this. I think that we attach emotions to data, but emotions and data shouldn't mix. It doesn't belong there. It's just raw numbers. The scale isn't calling names. It's just reporting data back to you.
Right.
And something that hit me last night, um, while I was watching something. I was in the shower watching something, a podcast, and they said something that we talk about a lot. Just the concept of how we're producers versus being consumers, how we consume so much. And what it just makes me think about is that if you're consuming a lot, that can either be a good or a bad thing. You can be consuming positive things, or
Mm,
you could be consuming like because it makes me think about where's this emotion coming from with scale, with money, and it has to me. I'm thinking it's got to be tied in at least a little bit with what you're consuming on a daily basis. You're
mm,
consuming something that's making you feel conscious about that number. You're scared of a number. You're scared of something. And so I think you just have to, if you start to, whether it's in your financial life, your fitness life, this is a process I'm going through right now. I'm doing an audit of the things I consume, and
mm.
I'm really trying to cut the list as close to zero as possible of things that I don't want to say cut it close to zero, but I'm really going to do a thorough audit, like because the way it just really hit me last night, and so I think this is just a an example of the way that it could affect your life. If you're consuming content that's making you self-conscious about your weight, you need to stop watching it. Unless it's motivating you to go do something about it. Go instead fill that gap with content that's going to motivate you to do something about it, or the methods to do something about it. Go watch a workout channel. There's plenty of workout TikToks. There's plenty of things that you can do to supplement that. Don't. There's a lot of guilt content out there, and we consume. I'm guilty.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, definitely gotta be mindful on what you're feeding your body and your spirit for sure. Just because you seeing it, you might not be thinking that it's taking having an impact, but that it's you'll be surprised. Like you'll be walking off and you have that perpetuating in your subconscious, and you wondering why you doing certain things. Like why am I doing this thing? And it's and so it's a part of it is what are you feeding yourself, not just food wise, but like words, books, conversations, that sort of thing. All right, before we get into it, this episode is sponsored by Level Careers. Use the coupon code KEN to get a 10% discount if you're looking to get into tech. You don't need a degree to get going. If you're looking to level up, get your income up, get to that six figures sooner rather than later. Hey, this isn't a quick fix, but if you're looking for a solution today in this economy, go check out Level Careers. It's going to be pinned in the description. Click the link, check it out. I know the CEO, great people over there, and you will be on your way to six figures. All right, let's get into the show. First up, a lot has happened this week, man. First, shout
Yeah,
out to MLK. It was MLK Day. MLK,
yeah,
the King, Martin Luther King. I have a dream.
yeah.
Little boys, little girls. I don't have the speech memorized, but just paying homage to Dr. King. Would you did you do anything? Were you off? I was off. Were you off?
Yeah, I was off for MLK, and so that was on Monday. That Sunday we had the ski trip, and so you know how I mentioned that the snow, it really did cushion the blows, because you know before you fall, your very first time, you like, is it hard? Like me and my wife, she was really scared. She was like, I don't want to fall, because like if you ain't never fell on snow before, you don't know how it feels. It was really soft. Now here's
Yeah.
what I didn't know: you don't feel it then, you feel it the next day. So all them parts where I had fell on, it felt like someone had beat me up. But almost like a workout. But it was really fun. So Monday, my wife and her brother, they felt the same. So we all was just in bed, just laying down, chilling for the most part. And I think I did some chores and stuff around the house. But yeah, nothing major. We just chilled on Monday.
So celebrated on Martin Luther King, relaxing. Is that what I got? Did y'all watch anything? Did y'all like I mean like watch anything Martin Luther King related or anything like that? I guess that's what I'm
You
going
know
with.
what's funny? I think this was, I don't know if it was before or after the band. You know, I was just washing dishes, and you know, TikTok, they got these DJs, and I beforehand, I don't know, I think it first got popular during COVID, you know, because people were just at home, and there was like a couple DJs that made it more really popular doing it virtually, but now that it was some TikTok DJs that I was watching that was just you know, they had the day off. They was like, I got the day off. One DJ, he had like his kids with him. He's like, my kid got off from school today, so we just gonna DJ today, play music in honor of MLK. And I was washing dishes, so I was like, you know what? I'll join in. And so I brought that up to say, man, it's just cool to me the different ways that you can produce content. Like you can just, I don't know if you could have been a DJ doing virtual like that 20 years ago, 10 years ago, but hey, if there's a will, there's a way nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah, let's get into it. We have a new president. It's a refresh, reset for the country. And I want to cover all everything that Trump has did in the first week, what the majority of things that he did with his first executive orders and his actions as his first week in his second term as president.
Mhm.
And remember, this is the KB Money Show where money doesn't have emotions. All right, so I'm reading the article. I'm not gonna pull it up. I'm just gonna highlight it because a part of this being the money show, you need to understand what's happening in the economy without your emotions
Yeah.
as best as you can, so you can know how to navigate. Because some of these things will give you insight on what the direction of where the country is going and where the world is going, and some of it might not be so much relevant for you to even pay any attention to if you know. All right, so first we got to talk about the immigration and U.S. border. So he immediately signed an executive order to declare a state of emergency. Uh, and so he sent some troops over. Let me see here. Uh, see if I can find the invasion across the southern borders of the United States, a move that triggers certain executive branch powers. So Trump says his cabinet shall take appropriate action to repeal, repatriate, or remove any alien engagement in the invasion. It's so interesting that they use these words and terminology it,
Yeah.
it definitely like invokes emotion depending on who's saying it, how they're saying it. Some they're saying invasion. It sounds like, man, it's an attack, you know.
Right. Right.
And so naturally you get, oh man, it's an attack, you know. But then on the other side, the emotions of, well, a person, you know, they're trying to come over here for the American dream and he's stopping them. And so, like, the reason I'm saying it in that way, as you can see, how it could play on your heartstrings. And so, just trying to navigate, like, no, what the heck is going on? What is,
Right.
what is, what is the law? Is there a law being broken? And what does it actually mean? Like cutting through all of the emotion part of it just for understanding before you even get to a conclusion. Because what's happening is a lot of people are creating a conclusion for you, and
Mm,
they're strategically marketing to you a certain perspective, which is invoking an emotion in you before you've even come to your own conclusion. And that's what I and so it's the wordplay is crazy in politics, and
for
I,
sure.
I just had never been a fan myself, to be honest with you, but I've become more and more interested just for understanding purposes. At the end of the day, accountability is still on me, regardless on who's coming, who's going, who's staying, whether I agree with them most of the times or whether I don't. But so anyways, immigration and border stuff happening. There we can let's. I don't want to get into all that. That's a whole bunch. International trade and business in the economy.
Mm,
So broadly direct all executive agencies to tailor their policies to reduce consumer prices. Trump wants a progress report from a top White House economic advisor every 30 days. Direct the Treasury and Commerce secretaries, U.S. trade representatives, and others. And by the way, I'm reading this from the AP News
mm,
article. You can find it. Uh, and so U.S. trade deficits identify unfair trade practices and make recommendations, potentially including a global supplemental tariff. So basically, it sounds like, according to this article, Trump is looking to see if there's any unbalanced trades that are currently happening that might be more in favor for other countries versus America. And
mm.
looks like he's trying to make that adjustment. And I can be off. I'm just, hey, I'm not, I'm learning. And so we covering this because we learning as we go, right?
Right.
Um, so begin reviewing the U.S. Mexico Canada agreement. Trump's first administration rewrite of NAFTA. You've probably heard that in school. I know I did. I heard of NAFTA in school,
Yeah.
with that eye to a renegotiation in 2026. Trump said he plans, this is where 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico as of February 1st, but he has not signed such executive order yet. And I think this is what is of contention because they're saying that it may cause increase for the American people.
Mm,
Uh, and so according to who you ask, it can benefit the country, but then other people saying that it can harm Americans. It's always interesting, the back and forth conflict and just them just not being on the same page. Climate control. We drew the U.S. from the Paris Climate Agreement, which committed nations to pursue policies limiting carbon emissions that cause climate change. The order blocks transfer of U.S. funds previously obligated to the International Climate Finance Plan. From my understanding, and I have to dig more into it, I I believe that we were paying a significant amount, and it potentially was imbalanced and
mm,
reciprocated. Whether you believe in it or not, I think it was may have been a little lopsided in terms of the contributions from America versus other countries. But again, I'm a C student. I'm just learning as I go. Inflation Reduction Act. of 2022. All right, we can skip all that. The diversity, transgender rights, and civil rights.
No.
So, so Trump gave an executive branch departments and agencies 60 days to eliminate DE&I programs, including all chief diversity officer jobs, equity action plans, and environmental justice positions. Require departments and agencies to give the White House Office and Management and Budget and accounting of previous DEI efforts, including names of relevant DEI contractors and DEI grant recipients.
Wow.
Terminate a 60-year-old executive order setting any discrimination requirements for government agencies and contractors. Um, the what do you so when you hear that? Oh, let me read this last little bit. A separate memo effectively put all federal DI officers on immediate leave pending their elimination. Well, at least they're still getting paid for now. Uh, Repeal several Biden era directives on racial and ethnic equity and LGBT rights. So it's a whole lot going on over there. When you hear that, what do you?
It just sounds like, for me, I'm curious. What something that really stood out to me on that was like the audit piece of it, where he was like, "Not, I'm not just gonna cut the program. Can y'all please tell me what y'all been doing for the past 2, 3, 4 years? Like, not just tell me about it, but I need to see in detail. I need reports." I'm interested to see like what comes of that. Why, what is he gonna do with these audits? Because the narrative is like, oh, he's just shutting it down, just shutting it down. So I can see him shutting it down without doing these audits. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like,
Yeah,
what's going to be the purpose of these audits? I would like to know the information. I don't know if we'll ever get to see that. Maybe
yeah,
one day it'll be declassified, but that's something I would like to see. What was the actual efforts? What accomplishments came from these DEI programs? Because I feel like that's something that came up maybe while I was in high school and college, and it looks like it's about to go away. So I like to. It seems like an opportunity to analyze the effects of that. Was it effect? Well, did it work, or did it not? That's what we're about to find out. Hopefully.
yeah. And you're talking about, and so the last thing I want to cover is the federal workers and government structure part of it. So Trump wants to establish the Department of Government Efficiency. People, you're probably hearing people call it Doge, under the executive office of the president until July 4th, 2026. This is the entity led by Elon Musk, the world's richest man, and is charged with recommending cuts in federal programs and spending. Basically, they want to do an audit on the government because they're saying the government is spending way too much money. And so they're trying to see if they can be the way you and I work run our budget, like
Mhm.
household budget, like, oh man, dang, my budget done got fat, man. I'm spending 2,000, 2,500, 3,000 on eating out or whatever, and it just get out of control, but you never rein it back in. For us, we don't have the privilege of not reining it back in. It's major consequences. We can't just keep kicking the can down the road in terms of spending, and the debt just keep going up and up and up. For us, that's not that you gonna be a slave and die in massive amounts of debt, and you're gonna be stressed out. And so essentially what I see this as is just reviewing the budget. But some people gonna fight reviewing the budget because I was watching something and somebody was doing a breakdown of like some of the spending, just different types of spending. Man, when you look at some of the things that was money was being allocated to, it was wild.
Mm.
But if you benefiting, are you going to be an active participant in? So imagine, let's bring it to because it's the money show, right? So imagine a couple, right? Imagine you have this hobby that you love, right? But y'all together have some goals that y'all want to work on, and so y'all sit down, and now y'all making some tough decisions and saying, we're gonna have to cut this, we're gonna have to cut that, we're gonna have to cut this. And you said, because I remember you said you the spender.
Yeah.
And so imagine coming to you saying that the things that you love to do, hey, we're gonna have to cut that out, buddy, for a while. Would you like willingly be like, okay, sure, yeah, all right, let's just cut that out?
I don't know. I think I feel some type of way for sure.
Exactly. That's the point. And so I suspect that it's gonna be some fighting. Now, I will say that we know we know Trump, like, it's the greatest, it's the best. It's yeah. We know that's how he talk. He
Yeah.
exaggerates everything. Um, but I'm just curious to see what's gonna happen of it. To be quite frank, it's not really changing much in the day to day. For me, and to be fair, I'm not a part of the government, so I do understand. Like, if you work for the government, um, maybe on the civilian side, you might like trying to figure out what's next, especially um, with the having to return to work and all of that. And so I do understand. I want to be sensitive to that, but at the same time, you gotta be ready for changes. Change is inevitable,
No, for
and
sure.
especially when they were already signaling it. Like you be like, okay, hold up. All right, let's start having these. That's why we bring it. Let's start having these conversations because we might need to make some adjustments.
Right.
You knew that it was potentially coming. It's like, oh well, let me just hold on and wait. No, man, you need to be kind of thinking about a potential game plan to adjust. And the reason I said that way is because we saw what the tech giants did. They was donating to the inauguration. They they sent in congratulations on winning the presidency. What they doing? We covered it last time. You remember about those contracts and all that. Like, this was just
Yep.
they're trying to secure their future revenue and business and relationships and what they're looking to do with the incoming president and the team. And so, just gotta, work on thinking more like that.
Yeah.
We can have our feels, but feels don't pay the bills.
Mm. No, that's real, man. And I don't know if you've been hearing this word. A word that's been getting thrown out a lot is especially like before this couple days, oligarchy. I'm hearing that. People find a word, they start saying stuff, but and so I can understand it though, because it is kind of funny looking to be like, okay, that's Trump, that's our president. Why he hanging out with Elon? Or how is Elon getting these appointments? And but and I can see how people will wonder that. Because Elon's got an interesting public image. But here's my thinking about it. I'm like, is Trump consulting with the richest man in Babylon? Is that what he's doing? Is this
Mm,
the modern day? Like, what is going on? And my thing is, I think Trump's a businessman. I don't think he is. He is. And I guess right now he's working for America. He's like our chief. And so when you think about who could be our biggest financial supporters, who else but Elon? You know what I'm saying? I forgot what the number was. I think you don't know if these numbers be true online. Who knows what the real number is? But if the net worth was what they say it is, I mean, I could see Trump coming to Elon like, hey man, since you're running the office of government efficiency, can you handle this for me financially? Can this $100 million windfall or something like that? I don't feel like going to get it from Congress. I don't feel like going to get it from this source. So I guess we're gonna see how this all plays out because it's like it's because we're living in this moment that it doesn't feel like history. But I mean, think about it. Elon is kind of like the modern day like Vanderbilt and all that. You know what I'm saying? Like he what they were for their time, you don't think they were politically involved? You don't think they ran it in their own way? And so I think it's just interesting to see I'm sure Elon had, political affiliations and stuff beforehand, but now I think we're really starting to see it. I mean, yeah, it's here.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you what I noticed was when you go back and look in history, we as people we have short memory spans. But sometimes when you go back and look in history and you see political affiliations that a person once had, and then you're like, oh, you was Democrat before. And
Yeah.
then they switched over to Republican because they knew they couldn't win in their state
Mm,
because it was more of a Democratic state or a Republican state versus them or vice versa. And so you realize like, oh, this is just strategy sometimes for them. And
yeah.
then I've seen scenarios where I've seen individuals donating to multiple campaigns, kind of like almost like hedging their bet. And
Yeah.
so that's not emotion like and so that's signaling to me that's not emotional. It's like that's like, okay, I have some things I need to get taken care of. Like I gotta play both sides a little bit to make sure I get what I need done for my business or whatever, they're doing at the time. But that's I guess that's the big leagues um
Right.
and playing a bigger game. So I'm gonna skip the other article. I'm gonna go to this other thing because we need to drill down more into uh the personal finances. Are you really prepared for a financial emergency?
Mm,
High inflation, interest rates have impeded the ability of many people to save money. How do you save more with less? In this article, it's going to talk about showing you a few options. So, according to if you notice you're not saving as much as you used to, you're not alone. Bankrate released its annual emergency savings report, and 73% of those surveys said they were saving less due to high inflation, changes in job statuses, or higher interest rates. What I found interesting that I thought was pretty interesting was emergency savings by age.
mm,
I thought this one was interesting. And basically, what they asked was they asked, thinking of how much money, if any, you have in emergency savings, how comfortable or uncomfortable are you with your level of emergency savings now? Gen Z said they are uh, 37% comfortable.
mm. Interesting.
63% said they weren't comfortable.
Oh, okay, okay. I see what they're
So,
saying.
so I'll do it on the reverse.
Yeah.
Millennial, so millennials said 60% of millennials said they were not comfortable, they were uncomfortable with their emergency savings.
Wow.
Gen X, 66%,
So
not
it's the same.
baby boomers, 51%,
Okay, so they okay.
and then just the overall aggregate uh, of
60.
the survey is 59%.
Wow. Man.
59%. And so let's keep going. The commonality among these surveyed, 2 in 3 Americans shared the concern they wouldn't be able to cover their living expenses for the month if they encounter a job loss.
2 out of every 3.
Yeah.
Oh, if they encounter job loss. Okay, I didn't hear that last part.
If you lose your job
Talking
one
about the,
month,
the month out.
like one month,
Oh wow. Okay. Oh yeah, that's
one month, you making life choices after one month.
dang, man.
So factors, I'll keep going. Factors influencing people saving less. The cost of living continues to rise, prompting more individuals and households to turn to credit cards when in a bind. I'm in a bind, Nate. I'm not laughing at the step, but like I think about when that movie. I'm in a bind, Nate.
Right.
If they had to do something strange for a little bit of change, that was yeah.
And it, I mean, like it definitely can feel like overwhelming, especially when you're just starting and you're like, oh, I don't have nothing saved. How am I? It's like a mountain I gotta climb. How am I gonna save anything up? But man, you just gotta go slow. But we can keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it's tough, right? Because you can easily say, "Oh, go make more money."
Right.
But we know just because you're making more money, are you even being a good steward of that money?
Mm,
And are you being check to check? So six figures, not six figures, it gets interesting. Man, we be spending too much, man. That's why we be broke, man. Well, I'm not broke, but like I'm just saying, like, just as Americans, and you sit around and you're like, dang, how can we improve that number?
I mean, they might hit Patreon before I start giving answers. But now the first thing that hit my head was we're driving in the number. We're driving around in it. That's one of the first things.
Mm, I was listening to a guy that's a marketer, and he says something so deep, like because he's a marketer. So just for context, y'all, if you still listening, hopefully you are. Um, on YouTube, I'm gonna give you this one. On YouTube, the content that people really want to see is the juicy stuff. It's the gossipy stuff. It's the relationship stuff. It's the world is crashing, coming down. The end is ending every day, and you just feed the beast, and you can make a whole lot of money. And so the point that he was making is that's what people want,
Yeah.
and so they seek it out, and so it's a market for it, and the creator just give them what they want.
Right. I don't know if you can you hear this. I got bagpipes going on outside.
Now we can't hear you.
All
It's
right.
off.
That's
And
funny.
s- and so tying it back to you said folks driving around in
10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000. Man, I saw an
it,
article there, Derrick Henry, the Ravens running back.
yeah.
They talking about $100 million running back. Like the headline was $100 million running back pulls up to the stadium in a $30,000 car, trying to imply that that's a low amount. I'm like, bruh, we talking like was he
Yeah.
supposed to pull up in a spaceship? Because it was like a snow day or something. So he put up in like his safe car, talking about it just shows how financially savvy Derrick Henry is. No, I think it shows the opposite. Why do we think that that's like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like not the opposite of Derrick Henry. I think it shows that we just are so used to seeing the opposite.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I got you. I know what you mean. You know, the article is talking about you need a budget and all of that, and I agree. I would say that if you are that person and you have budgeted, but you just don't make enough money, you do need to make more money. Whether that be exploring a career change, a job change, whatever that looks like. I know what you're saying. Oh, Ken, it's gonna be hard. Yes, it's gonna be hard, and no, it's not gonna be fixed overnight. Because that's the other thing that sells on YouTube. Six figures in 30 days. I'm
Right.
sorry. That's just not, I have never seen that play out in my personal experience. Maybe it's real, but I've never seen it. Not to be a dream killer on that one. Maybe it's possible, but I live in reality, so that I haven't seen that. But maybe, or are you that other person where you just overspending and and you just racking up debt, and you make six figures, make
Mm.
good money. It's you got to really decide if you really want to fix it, because the things that you're buying, you want that more than you want to actually transform your financial future. And that's not a convincing thing. Like, you got, like, either you want to change or you don't want to change. And so it's an interesting dynamic. Um yeah, yeah, yeah.
Man. So I guess, well, I ask you this. So if you could talk to, because I'm sure you got your emergency fund built out and all that, but if you could speak to Ken, who was like writing down, coming up with the plan of, okay, I'm gonna do my emergency fund, build it up to this much. And I guess, what would you say to motivate him to be like, nah, keep going? Like, what would he have wanted to hear? What would have helped him?
One, ensure that you choose, if you're going down the path of corporate America, choose a career path that you're interested in, that also has value in the marketplace, that companies want to pay. Like, look at the trajectory, and does it have multiple six-figure trajectory?
Mm,
Not what what happens is people pick things and then try to, like, they need to pay. I deserve more. Like, no, no,
right,
no one values that in that way. You value it in that way, but the marketplace is telling you something different, and it's showing up in your salary. So that's why, number one, it doesn't need to be something that you don't enjoy, but go and pick a top five. You remember I used to tell you to pick a top five, top 10. I used to tell you this same thing years
yes,
ago. Top five, top 10, and then you just stack rank them, of the ones that you're interested in, and make sure it has six-figure multiple potential, and it's going to be high in demand in the future. And then go down the path. It's not going to be perfect. Oh, like, wither down to, all that. Well, that's one. Two, start where you are, because your income is going to keep increasing. So go ahead and knock out your emergency fund, get that out the way, be done with it, be done with it. That way you don't have to be in that space forever. Three, you need to make sure that you keep debt to a minimal. Bad debt, uh, bad debt that harms you. Keep that to a
mm,
minimal. Stay lean. Stay down. Don't don't psych yourself out and just go along. And you see other people doing things, just keep running your race. Don't worry about what other people got going on. Four, you got to invest. You can't save your way to wealth. You have to invest. Stock market. The stock market is not a casino. That's a lie. That's a lie. People build wealth in the stock market. And also, a option is real estate. Whether you house hack, get a duplex, live in it for a while, get in there, rent it out for a while. Because when you're younger, you can do it a lot. When you start getting married, people start having certain lifestyle. Like, when you're younger, you still kind of in that mentality of college mindset of used to being in the dorm, and so roommate situations. So you're kind of still in that mindset, and so
right,
sometimes it's easier to do it there than later in life. So,
right.
like, start that path of investing in yourself, and just doing those things alone, you'll become a millionaire just off of doing that.
Mm.
It's not a sexy plan. It's just dollar cost averaging into the market, putting money in your 401k. It's really not that complicated. Now, sure, there's some advanced aspects of things that you could pursue, but just from a basic 20-year-old Ken, 19-year-old Ken, do run that play while continuing to learn, educate yourself, network, and see the opportunity that you can fine tune some of that to where maybe you can bring that I say quantum leaps, where they're could be some opportunity for some quantum leaps, but not. But you still have to be patient though. Like so, like don't be trying to force stuff to happen, like and mess up your situation. It don't mean don't take risk, but like if you just run that play, you'll be a multimillionaire
You know,
by the time you're 40.
it sounds like something my manager told me. He said, you got to make mistakes faster." I was like, okay, all right. It made sense when you put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I would tell folks. Um, yeah. Ken's practical steps. All right, so moving on to the next one. I gotta keep y'all update what's going on in the economy
Go. It's the money show.
and careers.
That's funny. Reminds me of that you see that commercial, that kid talking about something. What's the economy? They play that
Really?
every time on Hulu. I ain't gonna say the company, but yeah.
Okay. So companies are laying off, and it's important to pay attention to the roles that they're laying off, what's going on in the market, and maybe why they're laying off, listening to earning reports and all of the things. Because maybe these are companies that are on your radar, and it doesn't mean that they can't be on your radar, but it's showing you what they're cutting. The list of major companies laying off staff in the new year, including CNN, Meta, Microsoft, and BP, because I'm in Houston.
BP.
Job cuts are continuing in 2025 following waves of reductions last year. Layoffs and other workforce reductions are continuing in 2025 following 2 years of significant job cuts across tech, media, finance, manufacturing, retail, and energy. While the reasons for slimming staff vary, the cost-cutting measures are coming amid a backdrop of technological change. In a recent World Economic Forum survey, some 41% of companies worldwide said they expected to reduce their workforces over the next 5 years because of the rise of artificial intelligence. You remember that article I covered? See? You see? You see how it's all tying together? You see why this the money show? You see why you need to be on top and see what's going on? That way you can forecast out. And if you remember what I said in the last segment on number one, pick a career path that the marketplace find valuable for within the next 10 to 15 years.
Mm.
So like you got to go into the future and like, okay, what do they need now? What's hot right now? But like doing research to understand how, like, what is the demand for this particular role and does it have the potential to be eliminated just through automation and it become redundant? And it's not a fear thing. It's not. It's just you're just making doing research, doing homework, and making a decision and moving forward, and then you make adjustments along the way. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Man, with AI definitely is causing a scramble. It definitely just makes you think about like what can I do? What can't be replaced? What kind of roles still require that human touch? And something that I think about when you talk about what does the market want? What is needed? Still going on that theme of what I was talking about, producers and consumers. I think that producing will be in demand only because I mean, if not just because there's so many consumers and there's so many ways to consume nowadays. Just on TikTok alone. But I was thinking about this earlier. Back in the day, you had to wait for your favorite show to come on TV. You had to be at home, turn TV on, commercials and all that. But after the hour, show went off. You went on about your life. Maybe you watched on what was next. Maybe you channel surfed. We don't have that anymore.
Yeah,
Like just with the example of TikTok, that's your own channel with only the shows that you like that you can scroll 24/7 and you will never run out of content. And so you really have to. So we'll go on to the conversation that we're having. My mindset goes to as we can increase our ways to consume. I think the producers are going to be the ones that benefit. Those who try to drift off that path and figure out the ways to become a producer.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So moving on to the next one. I'm gonna do a screen share on this one.
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna do a screen share on this one. And I think this would be a good way to end the show. Just talking through this one.
Mhm.
All right, getting ready to cue it up. Cue it up. Miss Sam.
Shoot. It's AI, man. Shoot.
And also the thing I'm gonna add on the AI part, and careers, multiple streams of income, getting into the real estate investing,
Mm,
having a side hustle. And so, yeah, we're talking careers, but also you need to be thinking about those other things as well. Because at the end of the day, it's your responsibility to, our responsibility to um, diversify. All right, queuing up the screen share. You see the screen?
I do. I see it.
Cam Newton reportedly has financial struggles after retiring from the NFL.
Mm.
I liked Cam when he played.
He was a beast. He was that guy.
He's beast mode. Beast mode. I was a little disappointed that he didn't even towards the end he didn't get some other opportunities, but that's not what this is about.
Right.
Cam Newton doesn't feel like Superman to his 8 kids because he doesn't make as much money. Newton explained in his new reality, I'm going into a different phase of my life that's going to require a different form of myself.
Mm,
Newton said, being in the NFL, everyone knows there's a large sum of money that comes to you in a short span of time. And being away from the game for 3 years, those checks don't come in the same. Like I got 8 kids.
mm,
It hurts me knowing that I can't provide like I once did. It hurts thinking that I'm Superman, but in reality, I'm just a man.
mm.
Wow. Okay,
Man.
let's talk about it.
Man, I mean, I'm not laughing at the situation. It's just funny. Man, because he was Superman on the field for sure. But man, it makes me think about. I feel like we as humans, just naturally, we just think that life we're just gonna continue getting better steadily. And I mean, I guess ideally, if you want to plan it out, you will continue to make each year. I'm going to make more money. This year I make 50. The next year I make 60. Then 80, 100. I'll make jumps. But I think that this is just a prime example that life doesn't always go the way you plan. It almost never does. But this is an example of, to me, how life operates in seasons. And you got to be aware of that. I mean, literally, we talking about football seasons, but for him, he's describing a season where this is a season that very few humans will get to ever experience. A season where, especially him, he was in that we'll call it top 10% of talent of paid talent. This is a season where, let's say he plays 10 years and he getting paid, keep the math simple, that he can earn up to $100 million in 10 years. I can't think of another career that'll earn that. I can't, except for maybe acting and things of that nature. But I'm talking about something that me and you can go apply on Indeed for. I can't think of nothing that would pay 100. There's probably a role or two out there, some roles, but you get what I'm saying. Like even for those that are in that season, it's just a season though. It's the point. And so you have to be able to, whether you're operating as an individual or you're operating as a business. There are some businesses that was up during COVID. They call it some, it was a pandemic. Some people was calling it a bandemic because they was making money, but some companies really benefited from COVID. And so not that we want the world to stay in lockdown, but it's up to them to figure out a game plan and say, okay, hopefully eventually we all don't have to work from home permanently. We all don't have to wear masks and do the whole pandemic thing. How do we prepare for a world beyond that? How do we continue to provide value? Maybe we can't provide the same amount of value that we provided during the pandemic. Maybe Cam Newton can't provide the same value. I don't even want to say amount wise. He has to provide it in a different way though. If he wants to remain that same Superman, I'm not going to discourage him. He just needs to find a way to go be Superman off the field.
Yeah. I'm gonna go in another direction. I'm gonna go in another direction. I'm gonna say it's not about how much you make. It's about how, and I usually don't go in this direction. I usually like, nah, we probably need like people usually say that because they're catering to people that don't make a lot of money. Let's just keep it real. Let's just keep it real. Because my life changed when I doubled, tripled my income. I'm keeping it real.
Mm-hmm.
Like I budgeted and did all the things and that, but when I started making more money and I had that discipline
Mm-hmm.
already of budgeting money and money management, it took off for me. So it wasn't an either or, it was both. But
Mm-hmm.
in this scenario, the income was there. It's not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep.
Yes.
And this scenario, he had both. I'm looking, he made over $133 million in 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
He came in at 22, left at 32.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you got to think about agent fees and all of those things and taxes, depending on where he's at. So you could probably, if I had to guess, that'll probably bring it down to probably about 55 or so. Like, dang, I mean, because you got to understand, that's a job. That's a W-2 job.
Yeah.
He's in the highest tax paying bracket, highest
Mm-hmm.
tax bracket. And so let's just say 55. So now it's that 55, and just for simple math, 55 spread over 10 years.
5, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That looks a little bit different, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And it hit a little bit different too when you hear sometimes they got the $20 million mansion, they got the this, they got the this. And so, and I would be curious to, uh, I appreciate his openness in talking about it, but then you're not even talking about like endorsements and things of that nature. And so, let's just do some math. Let's just do some math because there are some players that did not spend their on field money. They only spent their off field money.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So let's just say this is crazy conservative. Let's just say over that span, he did not spend his game check.
Right.
And if you just did the rule of four, and we know the stock market actually averaged a little bit more than that, it'll be 2 million. It'll kick off $2 million a year for him, and that's not, and that wouldn't be counting anything else that he got into, like speaking engagements, other business endeavors and all that, like, and that's just stock market, nothing fancy, nothing. And that's why I was telling you earlier, it's like, it don't have to be fancy. Like ETF, a market ETF, it's not investment advice, but what I would do is find, just a simple index and just keep it moving. And then if you wanted to get sophisticated and like keep studying, 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 but I find most people want to be the lazy investor. Most people aren't even into it in that way to nerd out and really dig in. Not a judgment. Maybe you work and you got other stuff. You're a professional in another arena. So sometimes some people they just don't want to have to do all that, you know.
Right.
And so I do know that that's the thing. And so, and it's not about how much you make. Sometimes, well, I say it's about both, but in this case, it's about how much you keep.
So Ken, let me ask you this, because majority of us might not ever, none of us ain't gonna ever earn the money the way he did in the NFL. We ain't that good to play football, but some of us might earn money in a different avenue, but this is a lesson that is regardless of the dollar amount. How can we keep more of what we earn? So like maybe we can look at this example and try to think what took that money, where did that money go? You know what I'm saying? And so one of the first thoughts that jumped off the headline for me is 8 kids. But I'm gonna hand it to you. Where else could this money go as well?
Oh yeah, no, I definitely it was definitely the 8 kids. And so clearly, you can't tell a person what to do. I don't think he's married. So for the common person, you can't be moving like that. Like you
No.
cannot be moving like that. It hit a little bit different. You married, y'all doing y'all thing, y'all working together, whether she stay at home or you the breadwinner, and then so you really leaned into your career and maxing that out, or y'all doing it together. She working, you working, and y'all working that thing, and y'all investing, and y'all living, working it out, walking it out, living life together, um, and just being very intentional with your finances. It's what's the word? It's what do they say? It's like 10 or 15% head knowledge. What's the
It's like I know you're talking about like behavior versus the actual
It's the
knowledge.
behavior. It's legitimately the behavior. This stuff is so basic and so simple. It's the emotions that's put on it that leads to a certain behavior or doing it or not doing it. But it's really the behavior. Budget doesn't have an emotion to it. The scale doesn't have an emotion to it. The You put money in your 401k doesn't have an emotion to it. The actual process of doing that is not an emotion. It's just do it. The Opening up a brokerage account and putting money into your brokerage account once you've taken care of all the other stuff. The emergency fund. That's not an emotion. It's no, where the emotion comes in, that is, okay, I can I can go buy this whip.
Yeah.
Ooh, and you get in there, you get car fever, you get. So I know, I already know. Sometimes I won't even go. I don't go like me. If I ain't ready yet, sometimes I will not go. Or if I did go, I'm looking. I'm looking at baby boo. I'm like, look, we are not buying anything again. She's like, nope, we're not. We're not. And we just going in there like maybe dream building or like, okay, this will be my next one. When I hit certain milestones. Because when you get in there, whoo, you be like, ooh, like, man, it seemed like the leather hit there. You sit in there and just sink in. He go the key, crank it up. You like,
Yeah.
you crank that thing up. You see all the different gadgets. The new version of everything, and you get to riding around. You like, oh, I feel good. Next thing you know,
Yeah.
and then you get home and it's by remorse.
Ah,
You done played yourself.
yeah.
Or you get real creative. This what you do. You have something mechanically come up with your car. Like you need to fix something. You got a paid off car.
Mm, yeah.
And you
Cash.
and say something come up with the starter. Not hear you talking about, man, it just seems like stuff keep happening. I done paid up now. It seems like this stuff keep happening. It's just the inconvenience, man. I think I'm gonna have to get something new. No, pay for that starter at like $500-$600
Yeah.
and move on.
But
Yes,
Kenny,
it's
two out of
it's
three people ain't got the money. This is the month that's gonna take them over that month. They check the check. They can't do
and guess how I know about that story.
it.
I had a paid off car. Man, I was dumb. I had a paid off car. I wasn't married at the time. My homegirl D, I hit her up because she was good with her finances. So like she would be sometimes talking your boy off the ledge when I was a little bit more not as mature with my finances. I was pretty decent with my finances, but this one was a so that's the thing. You can actually be pretty decent at saving, kind of decent, and then you do certain things where it's like a 15K, 20K transaction and it's impulsive. Or
Mm.
100,000, 150, $200,000 transaction. So, and then what happens is you start things start compounding, and before you know it, it's out of control. So in this situation, I called and I'm like, yo, because I used to always bounce stuff off. I'm like, man, and I'm cool. We still cool to this day. I'm like, man, I'm tired of this car, man. I think I'm about to get me a new whip. And she said, boy, it's paid off. Why would you do that? I said, man, I'm tired of trying to get this thing fixed. And I went and got some brand, and I went and financed something,
Uh,
and I traded in a brand new car, and it
yeah.
was, and after I got it fixed, it was working. It was nothing wrong with the car. I did it, so it's not like, don't do that. Stop lying to yourself. You talking yourself into a new car. Stop playing. You lying. Like, and you playing yourself. You can have that. You can put that money towards something else, and because it's always assets over liability. Hey man, it's the show, man. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all tuning in. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And we will catch y'all at the next episode.
Peace.
Later.